So my curiosity is for you, Mr. Breez Evahflowin. What is the sounds of like your super youth before you had control over the sounds in your life? What were you listening to as a young one?
Um, wow, yeah, and that's the first time I've ever been asked that.
Thank you.
In yeah, quite a few interviews. Yeah, um, and as you were talking, and as you brought up the memories of your mom, like I started like getting back, and I'm thinking about the seventh floor apartment on Broadway and 101st Street is where I grew up. My mom was Brazilian. She was a single mother, raising me and my sister. She would always put on samba records every day, all day. And so the house would always be jumping with samba music playing in the background. And then as my sister, who was 4 years older than me, like she laid the groundwork by introducing me to disco. Like I grew up in the 70s. I was born December 18th, 1970. And so throughout the 70s, as I got older, my older sister would buy records. And we had this this all-in-one cabinet, and older people would remember these things because the TV was in the middle, and you would open it with like a little screen. Okay, Flacco, not.
I know what that is too, though. I can picture it.
Yes, yes, that thing. Um, so if you've ever seen it before, the TV's in the middle, and it's this big tube TV, right? And then on top would be a record player, and there'd be another like reveal drawer. Like furniture back in the days was no joke. Like it was all purpose. So there was a record player inside of it, and then in there, right next to it, we'd have the stack of records. And so my sister would have the disco records, and my mom would be rocking the samba. And then I bought the hip hop into the house as a little boy, and that was me listening to the radio late at night, um, once or twice a week eventually. And I had a tape recorder, one of those big clunky tape recorders, and I would push it up against the speaker and have the volume like just loud enough for it to pick up the hip hop shows that were playing back in the days. And then I would rock out to those tapes starting at like the age of 9. And so that's how it all started for me.
So yo, that's an amazing answer. Cause yo, for us, it's like unfathomable, honestly, in a way, right? Like, I have a version of sitting there with bad tech doing that, but like, first of all, we're talking about the '70s. Like, we're talking about fresh disco records, right? Like, what's it like? What part of New York are you from? I know you said street
Um,
names, but that meant nothing to me when you said it before.
no worries, yo, my bad. Yeah, and you're right. This is global. So Broadway and 101st is in Manhattan, and that
Okay,
was Broadway is Broadway. Broadway runs from Washington Heights all the way down
like the
to
real
Lower
the
Manhattan,
Broadway.
the Broadway. And so I was up on the higher end of Broadway on 101st, and that was the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Um,
Boom,
yeah,
boom.
it's
This is a beautiful
far.
thing. This is a conversation that I have with my friends all the time. You live on the cusp, right? 100th Street to like 110. Is that, is it like, I have this argument with my other New Yorker friends, right? And I feel like only uptown people or people who pay attention to the map really understand, which is
Yeah.
like those 10 blocks, they still consider it sometimes Spanish Harlem or Harlem, depending on
Hmm.
what side of the park you're on. And I'm just like, no, that's Upper West Side. If you look on the
Yeah.
map, that's the name of the neighborhood. Harlem finishes at 110th Street. So everything under there is Upper West Side, which is like a pretty affluential neighborhood now, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, we got bought out long time ago. Like back
Mm.
in the 80s, we got bought out of that neighborhood because we had moved from there to 102nd in Central Park. And even over there, it was still on the border because we was right up the block from Douglas Projects. And back in those days, like when, I mean, crack era, like you would hear machine gun fire down the block. Like that's how it was living on Central Park West.
Wow.
And so now that's unheard of. Like you can't go anywhere near the park.
Yeah, no, now that's unheard of. Now that's
Yeah.
like what I'm literally gonna tell Holden, like, yo, when he come, because he's coming to New York and I'm gonna tour guide him, right? And I'm just like, that's totally an area that I'd take him to. And he's hearing what you're saying now, and he's probably like, hey, don't take me to where the machine guns are clapping.
No, for real. Like I'm sitting there going,
You're not gonna.
but
It's nothing
gentrification
like
did
that.
happen, right?
Yeah, no, it's nothing like that. It's incredibly beautiful. It's a beautiful neighborhood
I
now.
know, but like also, he said he was the year he was born, and I do have a decent understanding of a little bit of the history of the era and how certain things were a lot more different then than they are now. Plus, I wouldn't go fucking anywhere without somebody from the city holding my hand. I'm not going to be real with you. Like, that's just the kind of person I am. I want to go to a place like New York City and have people from New York City show me New York City. I don't want to go to New York City and Google.
Yeah.
That's me. Also, my girlfriend compliments your use of the reusable water bottle because that's really cool. Sometimes people use plastic water bottles. Sometimes they use reusable ones, and that's really dope of you.